Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Chair.
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yes, we
thank you.
can.
Thank you very much.
Morning, Chair.
Morning, everyone. Can we start with our meeting level? Are we good to go? Can I get an indication if we can start?
Morning, Chair. We can start.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you, honorable members and all the support staff, the Office of the Auditor General, the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development and Environment, and all the people of Gauteng who are joining us from various media platforms or social media platforms. You are all welcome to this important meeting this morning. I will firstly like to, before we proceed with the meeting, perhaps introduce the members of the committee that are here. I'll try to check who is here. Yes, I can see Honorable Member Alfina Ndlovana, as well as Member Brownwind Engelbrecht. I can also see Member Jade Miller. And as I go down, I can see, yeah, I think those are the members that are here so far. And I think as soon as other members join in, we will just welcome and introduce them. So thank you very much, honorable members, for attending this meeting. I know that this meeting was supposed to have taken place physically, but due to unforeseen logistical problems, we had to resume and have the meeting virtually. But I'm glad that the officials, besides the challenges, they insisted on this meeting taking place because they could have easily said, no, we are postponing the meeting. So I'm glad that the meeting was eventually not postponed. And I would perhaps request the member of from the Auditor General who is here with us to perhaps open the mic and camera and introduce himself so that members can see who they are interacting with, as well as the members of the public who may have joined. And thereafter, it will be followed by the department.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. Just by way of introduction, my name is Nirosen Venkatsamy. I am the Senior Manager that is responsible for GDARDE, and I'll be taking you through the presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And the department? Can I have okay, you can introduce yourself, ma'am. I see you on the screen from the AG. Just unmute.
Hi, good morning, members. My name is Nicole Dickens, stakeholder leader for the Auditor General. I'll be accompanying you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And let me just check from the department. Let's check who is here and who's leading the delegation today. If you can just introduce yourself and introduce the rest of the team.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Humang Mashimze. I'm the DDG for Transversal Services here at GDARDE. I'm here with other senior managers, Mr. Madolo, Mr. Magaipia, Mr. Malema, Ms. Manotwani, Ms. Ngabinde, Dr. Ntani, Ms. Olowa, and Dr. Rabolao. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And you are all welcome to this meeting. Maybe just to outline the purpose of the meeting is, honorable members, as you have seen, we are going to receive a presentation on the audit findings for GDARDE for the 2022-23 financial year. and as well as receive another presentation on the Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development on its second quarterly performance report for the 2022-23 financial year. And finally, we will receive a presentation on the Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development's annual performance report. Let me also take time to welcome all the stakeholders that are here, the stakeholders that always support us, irrespective of our challenges. They are always here with us. You are all welcome, our valuable stakeholders. And I would also want to take this opportunity to apologize to yourselves for these last minute unforeseen logistical challenges that I spoke to earlier. Just to say that please and also appreciate that you made it, those of you who were able to join in. I know it's not easy with the challenges of load shedding, the challenges of data and all of that, but I think you will understand, but I'm happy that you are all here. I don't know, there's somebody who's raising a hand. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself or what, because we were still on introductions and welcoming. Mr. Mashimbi?
Yes, ma'am, it's me again, Humang Mashimze. I omitted to mention Mr. Berry Fenter. He's also here in the meeting from GDARDE. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. No, thank you very much. That's proper. Let me maybe just take the apologies, because we have acknowledged everyone. Let's just get a sense as to who apologized. But before we take apologies from the rest of the members, I have received an apology here, which was forwarded to me by the officials to note that the MEC and the HOD will not be in our meeting today because the MEC is attending the 3rd CDA National Summit on Substance Abuse and illicit trafficking, which will be addressed by the Premier. And then the HOD, I'm told she's attending the GDARDE Audit Committee meeting. And that's why this huge delegation was sent through to attend our meeting this morning. So let me take further apologies. Let me request a Lebo or Sisnozi to just table the other apologies, the rest of the apologies, if there are any other apologies. Sisnozi or Lebo?
Thanks, Chair. Morning, Chair, members, stakeholders, and colleagues. Yes, we do have two apologies. One from Member Tasontes, who's attending the IEC preparation meeting, and we have a standing apology from Member Kanyan, who's chairing the Economic Development Committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Sisnozi. Honorable members, there's the agenda in front of you. It has been beamed. I hope you can all see it.
Sorry, Chair.
Is that Member Dos Santos?
Yes, Chair. Sorry to interrupt. Since the meeting is virtual, I am present. But if the meeting is longer than 2 o'clock, I'll have to leave.
Okay, that's noted, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chair.
The agenda is there before you. We have just dealt with the apologies. And like I said, we're going to receive a presentation by the AG on the audit findings, focusing on the annual report for the 2022-23 financial year, followed by a presentation by the department on the annual performance report, the quarterly performance report, and thereafter we can take discussions, submissions by members and stakeholders on those presentations. Written submissions are allowed. Even on WhatsApp, you can send the messages, the submissions to Lebo or Sisnozi via WhatsApp, our stakeholders, just so that it's easy to get everybody's input on board. And then we will have item number 6 on resolution tracking, provincial bills on number 7, number 8 petitions, correspondence, any other matter arising which is not included in the business of today, and then that will be adjournment and the date of the next meeting as the last item. That's the agenda before you, honorable members. If I can have a mover and a seconder for the agenda. Then I check. Member Dos Santos. Member Dos Santos.
Sorry, Chair, it was a legacy hand, but I'll move to adopt, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Followed by, I can see Member Engelbrach.
Second, Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The agenda is duly seconded. Okay, yeah, I see Lebo has shared her WhatsApp number on the chat group. So those of you who would want to make submissions when the time arrives, you will do so. Thank you very much. Let's then proceed to take the first presentation from the Auditor General's Office on the audit findings on the annual report. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Just confirming if my screen is visible and I am audible.
Yes, the screen is visible. You are audible. You can just put it on. Yeah, okay. Slide mode. That's fine. Everything is fine. You may proceed.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good morning again, Chair members, as well as the officials on the call. Hope everybody is well this morning. So my task today, Chair, is just to reflect on a few matters. As you said, it's the audit outcomes on the recently completed audit with GDARDE, as well as certain key strategic initiatives that the AG is driving. As well as something called the culture shift, and I'll speak to that in detail as well. So the presentation, if you allow me for a few minutes to take you through the slides, and then we'll be able to engage if there's any questions on it as well. So just to go to a bit of background on the AGSA, we have two key documents that envelop our vision and our mission. So just quickly on the vision of the Auditor General. So it is to be recognized by our stakeholders as a supreme audit institution that encourages public sector accountability. Just to indicate to the members as well, the AGSA, the AG South Africa belongs to the groupings of supreme audit institutions of the world. So we there sit at the board, and we also encourage public sector standards, and we are influencing them worldwide. So what we see then in our audit process is something that's based on international standards and principles as well. Chair, together with that, our mission just speaks to where we come from, which is based in the Constitution. And then as the Supreme Audit Institution of South Africa, we are there to strengthen our country's democracy. We do so by enabling oversight, accountability, and governance in the public sector through auditing, thereby building public confidence as well. So, Chair, today's presentation is going to focus on a few key points. We're going to talk about the AGSA strategy and the accountability ecosystem. We'll share our reflections on the recently completed audit at GDARDE. We'll also then talk quickly about something called the culture shift. I'm sure you've heard this buzzword around already. We'll just then link it to the GDARDE environment as well. And then we'll speak about some of the recommendations that will come out of that. And then lastly, we'll just share some of the commitments that are in the environment as well. So, Chair, to get into the presentation, we're just going to start with what we have as the AGSA audit strategy. So in terms of our new strategy, we have something called the theory of change, we have aspirations, and we have an accountability system as well. So on the left-hand side, you see, I just want to share our strategic aspiration. So it is to have stronger, more direct and consistent impact on improving the lived realities of the ordinary South Africans. So what it does mean, Chair, in terms of our new strategy, we are almost to say moving beyond the numbers, the audit of the financial statements. we are now linking our aspirations to making a direct impact on the lived realities. So the slide just shows what we are aspiring to do together to what the legislature itself is doing. So as your Vision 2030 says, you're also there to strengthen oversight, to ensure that there is more responsive and accountability government. And at the end of the day, you're also in the process of trying to improve the quality of life of the citizens in the country, as well as in the province specifically. So things like alleviating poverty, reducing unemployment and inequality. So see, those two together are similarly aligned in terms of our various mandates as well. So that was to share that legislature partnering with AGSA has similar aspirations in terms of what we are trying to do as well. So just to move to the next slide. This then is just a diagraphical explanation of what we consider something called the accountability ecosystem. So these are all the role players that you see in the environment. These are the officials, the individuals, those oversight bodies that if they are working together and if they are accountable in their various areas, you'll see an improvement in the citizens' lives. So the AGSA sitting in the center is talking about 3 keywords. The first one is insight. Insight speaks to our reports. Like today, we're presenting a report back. We issue the department with both management reports and audit reports, and we give them the outcomes. I think the second leg, which we have moved to already in the past few years, is the influence. So what we do as the AGSA, we say to them, these are the recommendations that are coming from the report. We now are trying to influence you for better change as well. However, Chairperson, we found that in certain circumstances, those insights and influences don't work always. There is a culture of, if I could look at it, lack of accountability. Then we unfortunately will have to move to the third leg, which is called enforcement. So enforcement, if members will remember, is in the last few years, the AGSA has been given these additional powers. It's now called the material irregularity process. So what it does mean in a nutshell is our powers of recommendations become binding, and we're able then to issue, where relevant, these things called material irregularities. That then puts it's mostly to do with a definition that speaks to financial losses that are being incurred by various departments and entities. If the accounting officer does not do the appropriate actions to recover those financial losses, the AGSA then can have binding remedial actions against that person. And if it goes to a point where those actions are not appropriate and nothing is happened, then we can issue something called a certificate of debt. That means that the accounting officer then becomes responsible for that particular financial loss, harm to the public or harm to the institution itself as well. So at the end of the day, those are the 3 key words that I wanted to leave you with. But in saying that, we would like to prevent that, which is why the accounting ecosystem needs to be activated in the province. So they are the officials that are at the department. You have the senior management, you have the oversight, which is audit committee internal audit, which reports to the accounting officer, executive authority, which is the MEC, and then we do have yourself as on the other side, speaking to coordinating departments, provincial legislature, specifically oversight committees like yourself, and then those other players that are there to assist the department, which include the treasuries, the COCTA department, planning and evaluation, and then executive leadership. So if we're saying everybody has a role to play, if these from the ground up, the officials do things right, senior management apply the disciplines of sound financial management, and then again, oversight happens, you'll see this whole accountability system being activated. The decision making gets better, support and oversight is assisting the department, and then at the end of the day, the citizen benefits from this whole process. So this is our aspiration to what we do try to influence in terms of our messaging, in terms of our new culture strategy as well. Chair, then to move to the next slide, this then goes into the detail of our recently completed audit.
Point of order, please, Chair. Point of order, please. There is no slide or no presentation available, so I'm sorry, we can't follow you at all.
What do you mean, Member Engelbrecht? Is it not showing on your screen?
No, nothing.
Oh, I can see it.
No, we
Let's
don't
check
have
if can everybody else see it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
it seems.
Yes, we can see it, Chair.
Yeah, maybe just check your system, honorable member.
It's just on the side.
It seems to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, should I continue or wait for the member screen?
No, you may proceed. I think she'll sort herself out.
All right. Okay, thank you, Chair. Then we just go back to where I stopped. So I'm just going to now share our audit outcomes in terms of the recently completed audit. So the AG itself audits in 3 areas: the financial statements, the annual performance report, and then the compliance to laws and regulations. So in terms of our reflections, Chair, you'll see that in terms of the first bold item, which is the financial statements, we did see the department improve in terms of credible financial statements. If you just compare the prior to the current year, in the prior year, we had material amendments to the financial statements. That means when the AG came in and audited, those figures were not correct. The department then had to go to a process of amending the figures, so then it becomes a set of financials that were accurate and a true reflection of the department's figures as well. We looked at the current year. We noted the department did not have that issue in the current year. So we're happy to report back that that system of internal control over the preparation of the annual financial statements has improved, and we are happy to say that it is in a good way as well. The second part of it is the performance information. Here we're saying that the performance information continues to remain useful and reliable. Those are the 2 things we look at. When we look at performance information, we look at the POE that is there. We then look at the targets and then the outcomes of those targets to make sure that what is on the POE, the portfolio of evidence, is then reliable and useful. So that was also good in terms of the way the department reported their performance. So we're saying that those programs that we looked at, the information that is presented in the APR and the APP is a fair reflection of what has taken place for the year at the department side. Our challenge then, Chair, lies in compliance with laws and regulations. You notice a down arrow next to the item called procurement and contract management. We've seen a regression in that area. So what has happened is in the SEM processes that would happen throughout the year, there was some material non-compliance that was detected by the AG, which means that the department then needed to put some processes in place. I'll just share in the later slides what needs to happen in terms of that. So again, those are the 3 areas. We then did find an item of fruitless and wasteful as well as irregular expenditure in the current year. So that is something we don't like to see in the financial statements, UIFW. So the department will just need to take care of that. I think lastly, our other area which supports us is our IT environment. So we had a look at the IT user governance, user access management, and security management. We found that there was an improvement in that area as well. So in a nutshell, this was an unqualified opinion with no findings on the performance report, but however, material findings on the compliance with legislation as well. And just to drill down a little bit on the performance side of things, notice that firstly, the program that we selected for testing was to do with agriculture producer support. You notice that we had a target achieved of 73.3%. Would hear that the issue that the department is struggling with, and you'll notice it throughout the messaging, is the underspending on the budget as well. So we do have targets that we plan to spend on. However, when it comes to year end, we find ourselves in a situation where the targets do not get achieved, and it does link to the budget that was also not spent as well. So that's a focus on this area is to, and we'll talk about it in a bit later, some of the commitments and actions is that we just need to achieve and also spend on these programs. So what happens if we don't spend, don't achieve? We then have an issue where the citizen is not getting full access to, in particular, this program is to do with food security, the licensing, the clean air and climate change mitigation. So we see that maybe the targets that we needed to achieve year 1, year 2 will be either in the backlog situation or sometimes hasn't started as yet as well. The other program was on the compliance and enforcement. Again, we did have a low target achieved on this one, although we spend most of the budget. We just need to look at how we can link those 2 and the reasons behind it. It is largely to do then with issues that are either dependent on the department or on other entities within the province as well. So this one just speaks to how the department does their compliance inspections. So we do have environmental management that happens by the department. It's one where we say that it's demand driven. So it's not nice to have targets that you are getting fines, for example. So bad things happen. So again, we just want to know that these ones are not, this is a good indicator showing that the department is taking care of any non-compliance in the environment. We do know that there are issues on environmental conservations that affect both provincial departments, but largely to do with the local government, where there are things like landfill sites that are there, and non-complying with various NEMA acts and laws and regulations that support it as well. So those are the two programs, Chairperson, I just wanted to focus on, and just some reflection on that as well. I think the next slide that we go to is an important one. So this is where we were talking about those things like influence and enforcement and insight. So what the AG has done in the current year is we started linking our reports to how is the citizen experiencing or their lived experiences when it comes to this department as well. So we took their program performance or their issues that they would have had and their mandate, and we tried to link it to the impact as well. So you see in the first one, we talked about the supply chain non-compliance. So we did have some deficiencies in the competitive bidding process, quotations, as well as non-compliance to some laws and regulations. What we then say is that when these things happen, which is an internal procurement processes, we have material non-compliance resulting in irregular expenditure. So when we do have irregular expenditure, it means that the department then needs to go and investigate them to see whether there's actually sometimes criminal activities that may have happened, or is it just non-compliance or human error? Those things need to be investigated, and they need to go to a process of condemnation. So it is something that we do track as AG to say your irregular expenditure balance needs to be reduced year on year, and we like to have financial statements that don't have it, especially when we have the audit process coming in and detecting it itself as well. So this one for me is the one that the preventative controls need to be in place at the department. So before they even start the procurement, they need to have proper processes in place as well. So the SCM area requires some culture shift at the point of time of the audit as well. Then the other area is on grant management. So grant management is the spending on the grants that are there. So we looked at two grants, the CASP and the land care. We noticed that there was underspending on these two grants. The reasons behind it was to do with business plans that were approved late, lots of tenders that did not have responsiveness, and then there is a partnership with the DVSA as well, which we noticed slow progress on the construction contract as well. So those things are just what is in the system, but then what does it mean for the citizen on the ground as well? So we did say that the proper grant management is essential in improving the lived realities of the citizens, especially in this program where we speak to the agriculture producers. They are one of the key targets of the department is to commercialize these producers. And if they do not receive the adequate support from the department, we then have a rolling effect. So the land rehabilitation, the actual point of the time producers are supported so they can get to a point of being business minded and then improving their own lives and then the community around them as well. The second impact on that is the green jobs. So we have an initiative at the department where the department is trying to align itself to the initiatives of the Premier's office in terms of providing jobs in the community. Then this grant, then if not spent, is then going to directly impact those jobs that are meant to be for those communities that are there as well. So unemployment then reduction is not at the right level, and then the economic activity also suffers as well. And then I think the last one, Chair, is just on the programs we talked about earlier. So program 1, program 2. So those things that if they are underperformed will have issues then on decreasing production levels in terms of food and food commercialization as well as production, as well as affecting the supply and demand in the province as well. So at the end of the day, these things all then lead to the issue of having food security issues in the province as well. So as you see, what is happening at the department with the important mandate, if those things do not get done appropriately, we have issues then on food security. And then and secondly, on the compliance side of things is when the environmental legislation negatively impacts on the general health of the public. So at the AGSA, we also in the environment at local government level, we do see those, we talked about them earlier, material irregularities when it comes to environmental hazards that are there. So we looked at wastewater treatment plants, landfill sites, those things that are under the jurisdiction of the municipalities. And then because of the rolling effect of the value chain not happening, sometimes these things then negatively impact the general health of the public as well. Chair, then I'm going to move to the next slide. We're almost done, Chairperson. I'm just going to talk to something called the proactive review of the APP. So one of the key initiatives that we, as the AGSA introduced this year, was to look at the next year's APP that is being crafted by the department, and also to give them some sort of value adding, not findings, but some of the reflections, so they are able to then to produce a good quality APP as well. So what we did find, and when we looked at the current year APP, which is the one we're going to audit when we come back next year, some of the MTSF indicators were not included in the APP, and then there was a few disclosure requirements that were not adhered to. The Premier Office and the Department of Planning and Monitoring also has input into the plan, so we just left the department at the point in time to say that the review comments that are there also need to be incorporated. So what we then decided to do was to have a look at it again, and we noticed that they did go and update it, but it just now needs to impact in the next in the current year, which they are looking at as well. So prioritize those indicators and also make sure that achieving the mandate that the department has is directly linked to what they own targets and indicators which are smart, also to the medium-term expenditure framework, and then what is national also saying in terms of the strategic alignment as well. Then we come to the point of recommendations in terms of culture shift as in the department itself. So we talked about overall. So on the overall side, the department must continue to maintain positive outcomes. As I said, there has been significant improvement in the financial statements and the performance management. So the compliance part just needs to improve. If that can be improved, we're talking about entering into the green zone, which is the clean audit zone. So they are close. They just need to maintain the two and then improve on compliance to get into the green zone as well. Then the three areas we talked about was financial statements that we were happy with. They were misstatements, but they were not material. So continue to apply the system of internal controls. And then on the service delivery, we talked about it earlier to say the service delivery targets need to be achieved. We are in a situation of underspending on the main programs. However, that needs to just look at in terms of business planning and to making sure expenditure is incurred correctly, then hits the right spots, and the citizens' lives then are improved as well. Then just on procurement, which is our area of concern, we recommended to the department to institute a checklist. The SEM department was understaffed in the audit that we just completed. The head of department was not there for SEM as well, so there was issues on capacity and training as well. So we did say that they need to have some mitigation controls in place. So I see that has improved just on our assessment in terms of the budget utilization committee, the communication that they do send to us as well. And then the Auditor General will then be looking at something called the status of records review. That will be earlier the next year sometime. And we'll just have to see whether the controls are in place before the audit then commences as well. I think lastly, Chair, just on the portfolio committee side, we always want to partner with you. So we do say that we just need to look at a few things on your side that will maybe help to improve these audit outcomes. And then there also, as a rolling effect, good governance and services to the citizen. So the MEC progress, as you know, always important, especially we want to track that underspending of the key programs. You do that quarterly just to understand why it is happening and what sort of improvements can happen. The audit action plans, we do have audit action plans that we leave the department with, which is a management report. They will then develop these action plans and then we were able to track them. It's nice that you also have a look at what the audit action plans are saying and the progress made on those audit action plan. Specifically we talked about the spending on the budget and how the support of the agriculture producers are going as well. This all then links to the achievement of the target against the plan and making sure the budget spend matches the service delivery achieved as well. And then lastly, the internal issue on SEM, just monitor the fact that they are achieving compliance now with SEM regulations. The capacitation of the SEM department is in place and then procurement checklists are done. So there's checks and balances even before you start procuring to make sure that when you get to an awardee or the tender is awarded or the RFQ is awarded, every single procurement regulation is in place. Then the department can stand on its feet and say, well, I've complied this year. These things would lead then to a clean audit outcome. And we're hoping that by shifting culture, by shifting discipline, in this little incremental stages, it's not a lot to do. This department will be able to then move to clean audit as well. Chair, that's my story for the department. Thank you for the opportunity.
Rosen, I think this is a quite informative presentation that you have just made to us. And I think I like how you captured the key areas of concern because they resonate with the sentiments expressed by the portfolio committee, especially in our previous meetings, including the one that we had just last night when we were analyzing the annual report, wherein these key 4 issues that you raised were captured, you know, the issues of supply chain non-compliance, the grant management where there's under expenditure of the grants, as well as the continuous under expenditure on the agricultural support, which has a direct impact on service delivery, as well as the fact that department is a regulatory body and it is supposed to oversee the compliance by the municipalities. And in some of our site visits that we have done to various farmers, we find that you know, there's that lack. The compliance is not being monitored, you know, where municipalities do fault, there is no follow-up by the department to ensure that those municipalities do comply. So I think you have captured our concerns very succinctly, and we thank you very much for this presentation, which highlights the fact that you are our partners, and I think you are guiding us correctly in terms of how we should do oversight. And luckily, we have also picked on those areas, which is of a great concern for us. And I think working with the department, we should be able to eventually reduce some of the challenges faced by the department. So thank you very much. And let me also take this opportunity to welcome other members who has since joined us. I can see member Mokwebo is with us. Welcome, member Mokwebo. Let me also acknowledge member Ndlovu, who is also on the platform. Welcome, honorable member. I know you are not well, but you are here with us. Thank you so much. Let's then proceed to the next presentation by the department on the annual report and present the second quarter for the 2023-24 financial year. Annual report 2022-2023, as well as the second quarter 2023-24 presentation. I'm not sure who's going to be presenting, and whoever is presenting, you can just introduce yourself and proceed.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. My name is Naomi Kabinde, and I will be taking you through the presentation for the annual report and quarter 2 presentation. I will start flagging the annual report. Just let me know if it's showing.
Yes, it is showing. You can just put it on slide mode. Thank you.
Is it on slide mode now?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. So I'll just take the meeting through the annual report for the last financial year, 2022-2023 financial year. Without going through a table of contents, the main purpose is mainly to provide the portfolio committee with how we have performed as the department for the previous financial year. So at a high level, in terms of the executive summary, in terms of our performance, we had a total of 152 targets that were planned for the last financial year. And of these 152 targets, a total of 117 were achieved and 35 were not achieved. So the departmental performance as of 2022-2023 financial year set at 77% in terms of achievement, and 23% was not achieved. And the 23% constituted mainly of the 11 indicators that were not achieved, as well as 11 in terms of agriculture and rural development, and then administration, a total of 13 targets that were not achieved. So this is just a summary in terms of what was not achieved for Program 1. As I have mentioned earlier, the total number of indicators were in terms of the total for Program 1 out of the 152, 35, we had 35 targets set, and for indicators that were achieved was 24, which led to 69% of achievement. And in terms of those that have not been achieved, it's 11. And in terms of, in terms of number of indicators not achieved, it's 11. And in terms of a percentage, is 31%. So this is just a summary. The same goes to Program 2 and Program 3. And then it gives a total in terms of what I earlier mentioned. So in terms of the non-financial performance, in terms of the areas that we have achieved, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, on the first slide, without even going or taking the meeting through each and every indicator, I'll just summarize the slide where all these targets that were set at 100%, all were able to be met. And on the next slide, still under administration, in terms of total procurement targets on EMEs and QSEs, and total procurement targeting Black-owned enterprises. These targets were set at different percentages. For example, the first one was at 15%, and out of the 15%, 100% was achieved. And we can clearly realize that all these targets were exceeded. The same goes to total procurement that targets on locally manufactured goods. The target that was planned was 75%, and out of 75%, the actual achievement was 100%, and we over-exceeded with a plus 25%. And moving on to the next slide, the same applies here on these targets that are on procurement that targets enterprises in the institution supplier database, enterprises that are outside the institution's database, total procurement that targets on collective ownership or group of beneficiaries, or equipment that will benefit more than one beneficiary. All the targets that were set were overachieved. So this is still on administration. And again here, on women employed and at SMS level within the department, people with disabilities, the vacancy rate maintained below 10%. All the targets that were set were exceeded. The same on these targets. On the next slide, still under administration, on Black people employed in middle management position, we plan to have 75%, and out of that, 88% was achieved. And the same goes to Black people employed in junior management positions, as well as Black women employed in junior management positions. All these targets were exceeded. And still under administration, all these targets were exceeded. And again, on administration, on work opportunities created through TEPO 1 million, we had a target of 3,000, and we were able to exceed, as well as the Interesano commitments that were achieved. Now, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, on agriculture and rural development, as I have mentioned earlier, that in terms of our achievement in terms of these targets, the statistics reflect that on Program 2, 85% of indicators were achieved. So the next slide just talks to all these indicators that we were able to realize under agriculture without even going through all of them. I'll just pick producers supported, we had a plan target of 48, and out of that, the actual achievement was 121, so we exceeded on that one. The same applies to smallholder producers supported to produce food in Citibank and West Rand. We had a target of 65, 91 were achieved, and we had additional, exceeded with a 26. The same applies to participants trained in skills development. We exceeded the target. And on the next slide, it's more on capacity building activities conducted for smallholder producers, where we had a target of 1,500 and we exceeded with 824 because the actual achievement was a total of 2,324. And on smallholder producers supported, we had a target of 6,000 and a total of 7,848 were achieved, which also led to an overachievement. The next slide. Still on agriculture, these are indicators that talks to veterinary services, where all the targets that were set were equally met and overachieved as well. And the same applies to this slide that still talks to smallholder producers targeted for commercialization producers receiving veterinary support. We had a total of 60. We achieved 61 with a deviation of additional 1, so we also exceeded. And on this slide, we also exceeded the target as was set. And on here, the targets were also exceeded in terms of what we said for the previous financial year. And still on veterinary services, we had a target plan for 50,000 on laboratory tests performed according to approved standards. And the actual achievement was a total of 58,889. And still on poultry and piggery facilities, we were able to meet the target as was said. And still on agriculture, all the targets that were set in terms of research projects, improved research projects implemented to improve agricultural production, we exceeded the targets, as well as on issues of research presentations that were made at peer-reviewed events. We exceeded the target as was said. We are still on agriculture, where all these targets were met and exceeded. And again, on hectares worked by GDARDE tractors, we had a total of 3,000 as a planned target, and we were able to exceed with plus 5,444,0572 hectares against the target of 3,000, and the actual achievement there too was 8,444,052. And even here, all these targets were achieved as were set by the department. And still on agriculture, in terms of agribusinesses supported with marketing services, we were able to meet the target and exceed. And still on agribusinesses supported with Black Economic Empowerment Advisory Services, we were able to achieve the target and exceed. And then moving on to, I want to move on to environment, because on agriculture and the previous a program on program 1, all these targets were achieved and equally met and even exceeded. So we are still on areas where we have performed. So moving on to environment, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, these are the targets that falls under program 3, where we have quite a number of them as well, without even going through all of them. So all these targets that were meant, for example, on that were implemented, we had a target of 3 and we achieved 3. The target was equally met. The same applies to legislated tools developed, environmental research projects completed, functional environmental information management systems maintained, as well as climate change. So there were no areas of a deviation because these targets were equally achieved. The same applies to implementation of the Gauteng City Region overarching climate change strategy, the Gauteng Industrial Symbiosis Program, the development of the Gauteng Greenhouse Gas Inventory, as well as administrative enforcement notices issued for non-compliance with environmental management legislation. All these targets that were set were equally achieved, and the last one was even overachieved. And moving on to this slide, it talks to percentage of complete atmospheric emission licenses issued within legislated timeframes, as well as percentage of facilities with atmospheric emission licenses reporting to the National Atmospheric Emissions Inventory System. The targets that were set at 100% were also equally achieved at 100%. Now, I want to move to the areas where we have not done well as the department. I think it's slide number, this one, slide number 55, starting off with financial management in terms of invoices paid within 10 working days of receipt, as well as invoices paid within 30 days of receipt. Here, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, the target for both these targets were 100%, and on invoices paid within 10 working days of receipt, we were able to achieve a total of 94, which left us with a variance of -6. And for the invoices paid within 30 days of receipt, we were able to achieve it at 100%. So on this one of invoices paid within 10 working days of receipt, the main reason for deviation there was that there were delays due to the payment run schedule that was not successful, as the provincial treasury processed the payments after the availability of the system, resulting in invoice exceeding the 10 days. So here I want to make mention that in terms of how we mitigated on this one is that all the system-related errors and payment run areas are known by Treasury, and the department, in actual fact, do not have control over the system errors. However, as the department, we continue to follow up with eGov to ensure that there are no system-related challenges that would be experienced any further. And on percentage of total procurement that targets different designated groups, for example, women, youth, people with disabilities, and also as military veterans, we did not perform very well. So you can see, for example, at women, we are at 37% against the target of 40, and for youth, we are at 17 against the target of 30%. For people with disabilities, we are at 2% against the target of 7. And for military veterans, we are at 0% against the target of 0.2%. So here, what transpired is that there was non-responsiveness of tenders for targeted businesses owned by designated groups when the requests for procurement for less than 1 million were made. So here I want to make mention that the department, as part of mitigation, has committed to ensure that tenders will be re-advertised and quotations are sourced from the targeted designated groups. And then moving on to the next area where we did not perform very well, still under financial management, is on a percentage increase in department spent in township. So we had a target of 40%. 20% of that. And still it's on the reason for deviation is on non-responsiveness of tenders for township-owned businesses when requesting quotations, non-responsiveness of tenders for township-owned businesses when requests for procurement for less than $1 million were made. So here to correct that is that there will be more preferences that will be given to township-owned businesses for the current financial year. And as Nero has reported, we set ourselves to have a clean audit for 2022-2023. However, we had an unqualified audit, and as he has alluded, a material misstatement on accrued departmental revenue was identified by the AG and in the submitted financial statements, and that was corrected, resulting in the financial statement receiving an unqualified opinion. And on percentage of total procurement that targets triple BEE compliant empowering suppliers, we are at 71% against the target of 70%. So here, Honorable Chairperson, is that during the reporting period, the commencement of PPR posed as a challenge due to specific goals requirements. So the department has since reviewed the SCM policy and the standard operating procedures in line with the PPR 2022. And then moving on to the last one under finance, it's under performance on percentage of total procurement that targets on cooperative businesses. So here, the target that was planned was 15%, and we could not achieve anything. So here, the commencement of preferential procurement regulation posed as a challenge to specific goals, as I have mentioned. That is the reason for GDARDE, and the department has since reviewed their policy, as earlier mentioned, in line with the PPR 2022 as part of mitigation. On HR, where we did not perform very well, is under percentage of Black women employed in middle management positions. Our target was 38 and we were at 37%. And the reason for deviation was that there was a limited number of internal female applications at that stage of this indicator being implemented. And on percentage of training provided to Black unemployed people, we also did not perform very well. And here trainings were delayed due to delays in the procurement. So I must make mention that the panel was set for training providers, and they were recommended to render the required services in the current financial year. And then moving on to the next area, on agriculture, where we have underperformed. It's mainly on agricultural infrastructures and infrastructure established. The target was 57. We could only attain 12 out of the set target. And the reason being that the infrastructure projects could not be completed as the department had to change service providers due to non-delivery as per the contract. However, to date, as part of mitigation, these projects are at various stages of completion. And on hectares of agricultural land rehabilitation, the target set was 1,400 and none was achieved, as well as on green jobs, we planned for 600 and only 314 could be achieved. So that left us with quite some variances. For hectares of agricultural land is minus 1,400 because we could not achieve anything there. And on green jobs, we are at the variance of 286 against the target of 600. So here, there was delayed approval of business plans, which resulted in the delays of the appointment of service providers for alien invasion species, and this resulted in the underachievement and green jobs created. So here there was also a mitigation where the process of approving this business plan is facilitated at a national level and which is beyond the departmental capacity and to which as the department we don't have control. And again, whilst awaiting the approval of the land care conditional grant business plans, the department will also run a parallel process by implementing the land care conditional grant projects for the eradication of these alien invasion species through the equitable share to accelerate implementation. And on farmer support and development, the areas where we did not do well is in terms of number of producers supported in red meat commodity, number of producers supported in grain commodity, number of hectares planted for food production, and smallholder producers commercialized. And in most of these areas that led to underperformance, it's mainly because of the tender for supply and delivery of the production inputs that were not responsive, or either grain production inputs that were non-responsive. And here the tenders were to be re-advertised in the financial year. And on RTDS, we had one plan target for agri-parks that were to be established per district, and we could not attain that target because of delays for implementation of phase 1 by DBSA. So DBSA has been then requested to prioritize phase 1 implementation, and the department will form part of the work that is to be done by DBSA. And on rural development, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, we do have challenges, as you are aware, on us accessing land. So we could not attain the target that was set on hectares of agricultural land released for agricultural production, set as at 10,000 hectares. And the reason for deviation also talks to that land parcels that were initially targeted for food production were not available for agricultural production. And I must say this was confirmed by the Land Audit Project final report, which indicated that there was no GPG land parcels available for agricultural purposes. That also affects these other two indicators on agricultural land allocated to youth farmers for agricultural production, as well as agricultural land allocated to women farmers for agricultural production. However, I must make mention that, Honorable Chair and honorable members, that the department is exploring other avenues to ensure that we meet this target. For example, there are engagements with municipalities, GDARDE, and the private sector, yes, in terms of us realizing this target, which is quite a huge challenge for the department. And on compliance and enforcement, I think Nero also made mention of areas or concerns in terms of compliance and enforcement. We did not perform very well on percentage of administrative enforcement notices that were to be complied with, and there is the reason for deviation, as well as percentage of compliance to legislative obligations in respect of licensed facilities inspected, where the target was 65 and we could only attain 53 of that. And the reason for deviation on this one is that the target varied by -12, as a total of 19 facilities were not fully compliant. And again, on number of designated environmental management inspectors in provincial departments and local government, our target was 8, and we could only achieve 2, and mainly because of the reason that only 2 officials were appointed for this particular task, and these were the only officials that were trained and designated as EMIs, and these officials were the only officials designated during the financial year. And I must mention that this indicator is demand-driven and it is dependent upon the appointment of new officials within the inspectorate, both provincially and at municipal level, that require the EMI basic training to perform these tasks. And on impact management, Honorable Chair and honorable members, on EIAs that were applications that were to be finalized within legislated timeframes, we could only attain 89% of those against 100%. So here it was more on issues of network challenges. However, the department has established a committee to investigate all unfinalized applications, and this will ensure that any application that might be delayed will be prioritized and processed within the legislated timeframe. So here what happened is that the provincial network was not accessible for these applications to be processed on time. And lastly, on waste management and environment, we had one feasibility study that was to be undertaken, but we could not attain this target simply because there were delays that were experienced in finalizing funding negotiations with the climate fund that was co-financing the study due to GPT requirements. However, the response required that the concept be changed from the feasibility study to a pre-feasibility study. So that's what led to the delay. And in terms of waste recycling co-ops that were to be formalized, we could only formalize 5 out of the 100, which left us at a 95 variance. So this was also due to technical errors with the CIPC system, where only 5 co-ops were able to be registered in the system. And I must make mention that the department does not have control over the system, therefore no mitigation could be provided. And still on waste management, we have planned to train a total of 100 co-ops, but we could only train 47 of those simply because there was lack of response from the other targeted buyback centers and co-ops that were invited for training. And the department will consider accessing potential trainees through other means such as waste pickers associations and SAPO 1 million. And for all these indicators, we had one per each target set at 1, and we could not attain anything. That is on Gauteng waste minimization regulation promulgated, the Gauteng waste information system updated with correct data, and the standardized cost reflective tariff model developed. The reasons for deviation are provided there too. And I think, Chairperson, this one is the last slide on biodiversity, where we had planned to have hectares under the conservation estate. There, out of the 89,012, we could only attain 87,430, which left us with a variance of 1,582. So the department here experienced lengthy processes that preceded publication and declaration notices. And as part of mitigation, the department is continuously addressing these challenges as they are experienced, and due to external dependencies delaying the declaration processes, we are continually engaging, as well as the new stewardship sites assisted to increase land under conservation through the biodiversity steward program. We could also not equally achieve the target of 1. So the department even here experienced, in fact, is the same reason for deviation but as mitigation, as I've mentioned earlier, the department will continuously address these challenges as they are experienced due to external dependencies, delaying the declaration process. I think that's the end of how we have performed as the department for the previous financial year on annual report 2022-2023. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, honorable members. I'm not sure whether you would want me to move to the next presentation on Q2 or should I pause for engagement? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, I think you can proceed. We will take the engagements afterwards as per the agenda.
Okay.
So, yeah, just proceed. I hope the members are noting all the critical questions that they would want to ask.
Noted. Thank you, Chair.
Present.
And then I'll move on to how we have performed for Q2 of the current financial year. I don't see the presentation. Lebo, can you help me to flight that side if you have it? My apologies, Chair.
Let's see if you can get assistance in that regard. Are you still with us? Can you assist? Or anyone from your side? Anyone who has got access to the presentation and has got the sharing rights can do so. I don't seem to get a response. Okay, something is happening. Okay, thank you. Let's just put on slide mode.
Oh, sorry, Chair. I was saying I seem to be winning, so I'm downloading. Let me put it on presentation mode. Yeah. Okay, so this is how we have performed for second quarter for the current financial year. This is the table of contents. I wouldn't go through everything. So we are at 80% in terms of APP performance for the second quarter 2023-2024 financial year. And in terms of our performance, Honorable Chair and honorable members, we had a total of 12 indicators set under administration. And out of the 12 indicators, 7 could be achieved, which led us to us being at 58%. And for program 2, we had a total of 34 indicators. And out of the 34 indicators, 28 of those could be achieved. And that led us to 82% in terms of our performance. And for environment, we had a total of 13 indicators that were set and only 12 could be achieved, which led us to a total of 92%. So in terms of areas of performance, I'll just highlight where we have overachieved or where we have equally met the targets. The first one being on procurement that targets businesses owned by women. So we had a target of 40% and we are currently at 54%. And when you look at as to whether we will be able to meet the target by the end of the financial year, we will only be left with 54%. So we will be able to meet the target. No, we are at 54% in terms of the achievement against the annual target. So we will be in a position to meet the target. And again, we have achieved 100% on procurement implemented through the open tender system. had a target set of 80% against 100% for Nterisano commitments. So we are on track. And on the next slide, the one that I can single out is the 15 women producers that were supported with vegetable and piggery production inputs in Q2. We had a target of 15 and we were able to meet 15. And again, agribusinesses, SMMEs that were supported with business incubation in Q2, we had a target of 10 and we were able to meet 10. And we have also overachieved on hectares that were worked on the department tractors in Q2, where we had a target of 1,000 and we were able to exceed that target. And again, we were able to exceed the target on agribusinesses supported with marketing services in Q2. And on still on agriculture, where we are at 82%, we had a target of 90% in terms of capacity development initiatives undertaken targeting agropreneurs in Q2, and we are at 91%. And on businesses supported through enterprise supplier and development program, our target was 100 and we were able to achieve 224. So, Chairperson, on environmental sustainability, what I can give at high level in terms of our performance is on the 100% atmospheric emission licenses issued within legislated timeframes, and we have also managed to complete 100% in terms of waste licenses applications finalized within legislated timeframes. And then moving on to areas where we have not performed as the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development and Environment. On financial management for Q2, on invoices paid within 10 working days of receipt, we are at 97% against the target of 100%. The reason being that there were three reasons that led to this underperformance. The first one is on the tax clearance certificate of suppliers that was not updated on the system, and as a result, the payments could not be processed until that was cleared. And again, what led to this area of underperformance was that SRM system glitches were experienced, and that resulted into delays in processing invoices on time. And again, the RLSO2s were submitted after payment run. And the fourth one is that the supplier purchase order was created with the wrong GL account, and that led to the misallocation that was picked up when the payment was disbursed on the expectations. And as corrective measures, the payment section continues to follow up with eGov to raise system-related challenges. And as the department, we encourage end users to ensure that the approved RLSO2s get submitted within the legislated time frame. And still on financial management, on total procurement that targets businesses owned by people with disabilities, and total procurement that targets businesses owned by military veterans. In fact, for all the designated groups that are mentioned, for just bear with me, Chair. I don't know what happened. On people with disabilities and military veterans, we have one reason for deviation, where the reason for deviation is that the request for quotations on procurement of goods and services were deliberately made by the department targeting these entities owned by these designated groups. However, the responses from the latter groups could not be realized, resulting into targets set not being achieved. So as a body within the department will assist us with finding businesses owned by military veterans and people with disabilities which have interest in providing these services to the department. And on the percentage increase in department spend in township, our target for Q2 was 40%. We are at 33%, which leaves us at a variance of -7%. So the reason for deviation here is that request for quotations to township-based companies was done. However, most of the tendered requests for quotation prices were not market related and were found to be above the market prices. So here, more preferences will be given to township-owned businesses, and SCM will continue to monitor the selection of these businesses for procurement on CSD. And on the rand value of tenders above 30 million rands to be subcontracted to SMMEs, we could not achieve the target of 100% altogether. We are at a 0%. So here the impeding factor was that the commencement of the implementation of the PPR 22 on the 16th of January 2023 resulted into this, which introduced a specific goal requirements. So as a corrective measure, the indicator, it's no longer a requirement as informed by SCM, but I must make mention that GDARDE has since reviewed the SCM policy and the SOP in line with the PPR 2022 for procurement of goods services in line with the approved SCM policy and SOP. So what will happen here, Chairperson and members, is that this indicator the coming quarters, we will no longer be reporting on it because this indicator is no longer a requirement. And I think during the adjustment that was corrected, but because we had to report it for this quarter, that's why it led to the 0%. But Barry can assist to respond to it later if there are any questions. And on agriculture, hectares of agricultural land rehabilitated, number of green jobs created, hectares of cultivated land under conservation agricultural practices, the targets were not equally met, and simply because there were delays approval of business plans, which resulted in the delays of the appointment of service providers. And as a corrective measure, the business plans have since been approved and the first quarter tranche has been transferred. So GDARDE has further put into place some plans to accelerate the achievement of the set target. And still under agriculture, we did not do very well under indicators in relation to veterinary services as well as on agribusinesses. So starting with the one on veterinary services in terms of visits to epidemiological units for veterinary interventions, the reason that led to this underperformance of 2154 against 2250 is because there was non-availability of essential stock items at the epidemiological units for vets interventions due to delays in procurement. So as a corrective measure, SCM is to fast-track procurement of essential stock items, and on the number of laboratory tests performed according to prescribed standards is dependent on field personnel collecting samples. So this one is more related on the laboratory tests that are performed according to approved standards. And that also includes disease outbreaks and the laboratory processing the samples and reporting on the result. So here, this indicator is dependent on lab tests received and processed. And on agribusinesses supported with Black Economic Empowerment Advisory Services, we could only achieve 10 out of 20 simply because two business reporting period under review, and that did not have enough agri-businesses in attendance. So as a mitigation moving forward, more agri-businesses will be targeted during enterprise development workshops and information sessions. And on environment, I think this is the last slide, Honorable Chair and honorable members. We are not doing very well on number of trees for greening that are planted by the department, simply because of the budget constraints to procure more trees for the project. So the target that we have for the quarter, let me start with this annual target, is a total of 700,000. And for quarter two, the target is 150,000. And the actual performance against the quarter two target is at 34,827 trees that could be planted for quarter two. And that leaves us as at a variance of minus 115,173 trees that still need to be planted. And when you look at the progress to date against the annual target of 700,000, we are only at 34,827. So as I've mentioned, that is due to budgetary constraints to procure more trees for the project. So the department, as the corrective measure, will source funds and resources from other partners to procure or source more trees for the project implementation. And I think then that leads me to the end of the presentation. Thank you, Honorable Chair and honorable members.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Nkabinde, for the elaborative presentation. I hope the members, they got it, and they will be able to engage after the last presentation, as I had indicated earlier. So let's then move straight to the last presentation, which is 5.1.1, the annual performance report for the 2021 financial year, as well as the second quarterly performance report for the 22-23 financial year. Yeah, those are the two outstanding presentations. And thereafter, I will open for discussions and comments and or submissions from everyone else on the platform. Okay, I'm not sure who's going to be presenting. You can just indicate who's going to be presenting to us, and then you can proceed as such. I hope I'm still audible. Right? Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Right. Yeah. The department can proceed with the next item. Naomi, who's going to be presenting the rest of the items?
Chair, are those not the two presentations that Naomi has just made? Unfortunately, I don't have the agenda. I'm not able to check.
If there's no duplication. 23, yeah, I think it's there's a duplication there. The other one says annual performance report for the 2021-22, and then the previous one, annual report 22-23. Lebo, just confirm, because there seemed to be some duplication on 5.1.2 there, which I think has been done. The second quarterly performance report, this is what we have just received now. Can you just clarify on the 5.1.1? Is it, did you capture it wrong, or What is the situation? Because the previous one talks to the 2022-2023, and this one talks to 21-22. If you can just clarify for us, Sis Lebo.
Afternoon, good day, Chair. I think it's a mistake, Chair. The quarter report is 23-24, and the annual is actually 22-23.
23.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks for clarifying. I
Thank you,
didn't
Chair.
actually zoom into it. Thank you so much, Nkabinde, for the presentation. Yeah, I think there was a lot. It was a presentation with lots of information there. I think there will be enough for members to actually engage, as well as the stakeholders who are here. And I'm sure they will be able to make the necessary submissions at the right time. So let me then check if there are any hands. I'll take hands first from the members, and then I will move on to any other person who wants to make comments or inputs. I see the hand of member Ndrovana. You will be the first one. You can take a bite, member. I'll keep on recognizing hands. Oh, the second one is member Ndlovu. I'll acknowledge your hands as and when we proceed. You can start, Honorable Ndlovana.
Yeah, yes, thanks, Chair, and everyone in the platform. Chair, I'll start first with the presentation by the Office of the Auditor General. I just want to comment as the member of the committee with regard to the advice which they are giving to us as the committee in terms of monitoring on the issue of compliance from the SCM non-compliance. I think, Chair, we are accepting the advice from the Office of the AG, and then we will be able to do the monitoring as on the issues raised by the AG. And I'm also think that the department have noted what the Office of the AG is doing. That's my first comment. Chair, with regard to the presentation of the annual report, Chair, I'm asking myself in terms of underperformance on the GOD with regard to the department is unable to meet the targets. And in their mitigation, they're saying that they are going to re-advertise those tenders which they were unable to meet the target. Now my worry is, Chair, can the department come with the mechanism on assisting those GOD group in terms of meeting the requirements on the tag or requirements on the tenders which they are advertising? Because for me, as an individual Chair, you will advertise and they will apply not meeting the requirements, and the department will be unable to meet their targets based on that for re-advertising. Can they have a strategy or a mechanism to assist that? Can they share with us how do they want to resolve this matter of non-performance of the GOD target? The third one is on the second quarter report, Chair. I am a little bit worried in terms of the target of the trees for greening. To me, is the same, Chair, as the one of the seedling. If the department is having budgetary constraint in terms of achieving this target, are they not having a memorandum of understanding or the service level agreement with the municipality in terms of assisting, particularly in the trees for greening, so that they should be able to meet the target so that issues of service delivery could be seen
by the stakeholders in different municipalities. I'll pause there, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ndlovana, for the questions, the inputs. Member Ndlovu.
Thank you very much, Chair. I also want to start on the AG's office. And my question to the AG's office would be to ask about the recommendations that they made in the previous year to the department, 1, and 2, if this year those recommendations have been adhered to. And then 2, I did not get a sense whether there is underspending or overspending in the current financial year. If we can just get a clear clarity in relation to that one. And then on the second one, in the first presentation, I'll call it the first presentation because I thought it was the annual report, but I'm a bit more confused now. But on the first presentation, when the report came speaking to key related issues in relation to procurement, and we were told that the TISH or the township companies are not responding. And they say, the department says to us, the mitigation is that they will be given preference. I just want to understand what do they mean by that, because they are saying they are not responsive and they are saying they are going to give them preference. I just want to get a clarity there, what is meant by that. It even appears on the second quarter report. They say they responded with prices that are not market related, but they say on mitigation, they are going to give them preference. So we just want to understand what is happening there. On the issue of infrastructure, I think it's also in the first presentation of the department. The department says to us projects were put on hold. They are continuing now, apparently. And they were put on hold because service providers could not deliver. On that one, can we be furnished with a list of those projects? 1. But the question for this meeting to the department is that what then happened to those companies that did not deliver? We need a list so that we can make reference against Treasury, because these companies that are not delivering are the same companies that get most jobs in the department. Lastly, Chairperson, which even confuses us, Wes, or me rather. When these reports always come, you get a report and then the CFO or a financial person gives a financial version. But these reports were presented to us in their totality by one person. And I'm worried because we only got an apology from the MEC and the HOD. And I'm worried that if the CFO is not part of this meeting, what would be the reason, Chair? I'm raising these things because lately, as we move towards the conclusion of the 6th administration, there are a problem in communities. One of the committees I sit in were to cancel a public engagement last week because the people wanted the MEC and HOD in the meeting, and they are saying they can no longer continue without them always submitting apologies in the meeting. We are an important stakeholder, as is their other stakeholder, wherever they are today. We're important as those people, and we need to be prioritized as such. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ndlovu. I just get more hands if there are any. Honorable members, is there anyone who wants to make an input or comment on the 3 presentations? Lebo, your hand is up.
Good day, Chair. If you agree, Chair, I have stakeholders that we're going to be part of the session. However, I will try to dial them in using my phone, and then if they're not audible, then we'll just go the route of them sending verbal submissions. So I just wanted to ask if it's possible, if I should allow them, and then thereafter, can Can we allow them, Chair?
Yes, do so,
Okay.
because yeah, I said the stakeholders as well can make their inputs. You can do so, my dear.
Okay.
Give you some time to do that.
No, they're already aware, Chair, that.
Okay, okay, go for it.
Hi, with Bruce. You are now on the floor. The committee is here and the department. Please, you can ask the questions that you have to also submit to us. You can start, sir.
Met with the guys from the Department of Agriculture on the 15th of September, along with the service provider on our side to finish the snag list that they had to do. Now, in the absence of those snag lists not being done, we ended up having our project being vandalized. They came and did the size of the plot. When they built the fence at first, it was not according to the size of the plot. So they corrected that. So when they were correcting that, they forgot to lock the fence. Now, due to not locking the fence, a few panels were taken away from the plot. And then when we met on the 15th of September, they had agreed that by the 30th of September, it would have been finalized. Till today, it's not finalized. We have not had a word from them till today. Now, we are also, there's a borehole which is also outstanding, and a chicken structure which is also outstanding, which nothing has been said or done on those two. So for the budget of 2022-2023.
You done, sir?
No.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Sorry?
I think that was submitted.
Chair?
I didn't get the name of the
Chairperson?
I say I didn't get the name of the person who was presenting, our stakeholder there. If we can get a name.
Just hold on for me, please. Chair?
Okay.
See if he can introduce himself so that we can capture his name and surname. Where he comes from.
Chair, I didn't get that.
I'm saying if we can get the name and surname and the area from which he comes from.
The
It's fine.
introduction of Bruce Lebu. The introduction of Bruce.
You are muted.
Bruce, the members are asking, the member Grovive, I heard you correctly, the nature of his work.
No, just for capturing Lebu. Like he said his name was Bruce, but the chair didn't capture Bruce from where.
And Sons Poultry Farm.
Okay, Chair. Chair, that's the stakeholders submission.
Okay, yeah. Is there any other one who wants to make a submission? Mr. Madolo, I note your hand. You will come in afterwards. Let's check with Lebu first if there's anyone else who wants to speak from the stakeholders.
Yes, Chair, I have two who'd like to speak. I have to dial them in.
Okay, do so.
All right. Okay. Chair, I think they're having connection problems. I think we can go on. We can go on with the meeting, and they will indicate if they still want to participate. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, otherwise you can take in their submissions and present them on their behalf, if
Okay.
possible.
No problem,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, I see the hand of Mr. Madolo. Do you want to respond, or should we just maybe conclude the question sessions? Because I think you want to respond on behalf of the department. Am I correct?
Chair, yes, you are very much correct. But I wanted to also add on your request from the stakeholders that they must indicate, as that Honorable Ndlovu indicated, that they must introduce themselves properly in terms of where they also come from. I just wanted to add on that, but I'll wait until they are finished with their questions.
Thanks. Thanks very much. Let me just get an indication if there are any more hands from the members or from stakeholders who are able to directly interact with us. Otherwise, we will wait for the submissions from Lebo, either from the SMS, the WhatsApp, or the telephonic conversations that you're going to have with the stakeholders. But let me say that, yeah, let's appreciate all the presentations. And from my side, I think on the in terms of the planned targets versus the actual achieved, I think for it would assist the committee if where possible or practical, we are appraised as to which programs or activities that are attached to those targets have been achieved. So practical examples of what was done, like when you said 2 targets were achieved under the environment and 2 targets were planned. Tell us what is it that the activities that talks to those targets. Sometimes it helps to clarify, those details so that the committee can have a touch and feel of these activities that you talk to, instead of them just being on the book, But at least if we have a sense, as a portfolio committee, if possible, we can actually even visit those programs to see if indeed they do exist in the first instance. That's number one. And then number 2, on the financial management, and I think the honorable members who spoke before me have also touched on this, the issue of underperformance to designated groups and the issue of the non-responsiveness of tenders. I'm just thinking, Hore, I mean, as teach is your elevated priority, it doesn't make sense, Hore, we just report that there is non-responsiveness of tenders, because my thinking would be that you would put more focus in these areas, the teach areas, not only on service delivery, but in terms of sourcing business from those SMMEs, because this is the focus, of course. So if there's non-responsiveness of tenders, I'm not sure how much the department is doing in creating awareness to those disadvantaged communities which may have no experience in doing business per se, but they want to be involved as SMMEs. So I don't know how much you are doing in terms of empowering them, and I think Member Ndlovana touched on it, because first of all, do they even know where to look for these tenders? Where do you advertise them? Do you go to them and tell them that there are these opportunities for you and this is how you can go about accessing these opportunities? Or do you just advertise them on the mainstream newspapers or on the internet, where maybe some of them are not even able to reach that information? They just hear from other people to say there's a tender of this and this and that, but they just don't have access, and they probably have the know-how and the capacity to deliver on whatever the departments needs to source from them. So I just want to know, Hure, what is the focus? What is your strategy around ensuring that you really procure from those niche areas? And then number 3, on the rural development aspects and the land availability or land unavailability. I think this creates a very huge challenge, and it directly impacts on your ability to implement the farmer support program, because in most instances you want the farmers to have land, or at least a lease land from owners. Sometimes it becomes impossible or difficult for them to access those land pieces. As a result, they cannot access the production inputs or whatever farmer support that you want to share with the farmers. So I think this issue of land availability and your collaboration with the National Department of Rural Development is very key, because without access to land, then we might forget about improving the lives of our people, especially our farmers, or even the huge vision that you have of commercializing farmers and getting people into agro-processing. It will be futile, because then people won't have access to that land. So I think the issue of land availability is very key. And I think I picked up from your presentation that something is being done, but I think the process is just too tedious, and it needs urgent intervention. And then you talked about the 15 women supporters supported with production inputs. And I think this talks to the first issue that I raised, to say, it would be nice to know which women supporters farmers were supported with production inputs and from which areas. And I know on one of the slides, the last slide that you presented, you sort of summarized some of the areas, but I think specifically on this one, on the 15 women support farmers that were supported, I would really like to know which women and from which areas. Like I said, on that slide on achievements, you sort of cover some of the areas that we would need more information on. And the issue of the trees, and I think Honorable Governor also touched on it. I don't know if as a long-term strategy for the department to source trees, because if you have a problem of procuring trees, trees can be cultivated, they can be grown from seeds. Wouldn't it be advisable to maybe check with the existing farmers that you support that have enough space to start getting into a project where they can cultivate some of these trees that you would want to see being grown for the greening project, so that in the long term, you don't only have to go to the market to get the trees, but you have farmers that actually grow the trees on the available farmland that they have at their disposal. They could assist you. If 10 of the farmers in the area are able to cultivate those trees, why not? Because after 2-3 years, those trees may be ready for being planted into, maybe ready to be planted. That's just an idea. I don't know if it's practical, but I think it's something that is doable, in which the department can actually look at as well, over and above procuring. They can cultivate. So I think I will leave it at that and allow the office of the AG and the department to respond if there is any response warranted. Okay, AG Nirosen.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just noting the comments from the members. Thank you for that. I just had two specific questions maybe to respond to. I think the first was from the member just on a reflection of the recommendations from the prior year. So our assessment is that largely all the recommendations were adhered to and implemented by the department. They relate to the financial statement adjustments and the AOPO. So those recommendations have then resulted in that improvement in the audit outcomes. The only thing I may want members to track is the new recommendations. So that's specifically on the SEM and the compliance part of things. So that one should have been process of being implemented in the current year. So by the time the new audit starts, we're hoping not to have a recurrence of that. As I said, that is a triggering one that will help the department to improve on the audit outcomes as well. The second question, I think it's more for the CFO, but it just was what is the underspending in the current year? I think the CFO and the team from the department will be able to maybe give that feedback. It's to do with the in-year monitoring, so the department will have that information for the member. I think, Chair, those are the two, and I also note the comments as well by the members. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the response. Okay, department, you can come in and respond.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to ask Mr. Berifenter to respond to all the issues about procurement and tenders, and Mr. Madolo to respond to the issues about the projects where service providers didn't perform well, and also about the trees. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DDG, Honourable Member, Honourable Chair. Just in response to the question that was raised on the performance of the department at the end of the second quarter, I can just report that the expenditure at the end of the second quarter for the department was sitting at 52%. So that's the overall expenditure. So it's 2% above the 50% straight line projection for the department. Honourable Chair, just in response to the question relating to not achieving on the GDARDE targets, the department do take note of the concerns that is raised by the committee. Just in response also, or the mitigating matters or action that the department is currently taking is, like we've reported, we seriously are targeting these people with disabilities, youth, and also SMEs in the township areas. Chair, also the support that are being given is also being given by Provincial Treasury. So on I can't just recall if it's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, they do provide training to SMEs how to apply for either for RFQs or then how to follow the tender processes to be successful in when those tenders are being advertised by the different departments. Chair, we also then target as well as our SMEs. For instance, if we have certain projects in certain areas of Gauteng. For instance, if we look at our farmers market days, usually what will happen is when there's any procurement that needs to take place in those areas, when we have our farmer market days, we will procure the specific services from that or target specific SMEs from that specific area to provide services to the department. We also then make use of our CSD services when we're requesting for RFQ for any procurement that needs to take place. And like I've indicated, also then target the specific areas that project are being delivered. Basically, I think that's just the two questions I needed to respond. If there's anything else, I will just then follow up on that. Thank you, Honourable Chair and members.
Dr. Madoda, you can come in. Madolo.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for correcting my surname, Madolo. Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I think, honorable members, thanks for the opportunity. I think let me start, Chair, with the issue of the tenders being non-responsive, and therefore, how do we ensure service delivery? What we've done, Chair, through the accounting officer, Matilda Gassel, is that we are now going to also, especially in this financial year, looking at the fact that, tenders are not actually responsive, not only in terms of service providers not complying to the requirements of the terms of reference, but tenders are not an effective implementation model for agriculture, because when farmers need to plant, for an example, the grains in this production season, production season starts in September, and latest by the 16th of December, the seed must be on the ground, and so for them to be able to harvest anything. And that talks to food security, which is what also the AG also talked to in the sense that we've got to deliver into the issues of poverty through ensuring that our farmers produce. So in that regard, Chair, our HOD, we are then implementing what is called a beneficiary holding account, whereby we want to make sure that the farmers themselves make decisions based on the approval, of course, of what they've been approved on, of where and when they must actually go and buy their production inputs. That is being rolled out as we speak, and the process is underway with Treasury. So what that means is that each and every farmer that we are approving, for an example, an account will be opened by the farmer. However, the issue of the disbursement of those funds for buying what has been approved will be signed off by the department, but the farmer is also in charge. So I just wanted to talk to that firstly. And then, and of course, we are also partnering with the commercial farmers, as in Gauteng, to make sure that in some of the areas whereby farmers, for example, need assistance, especially when it comes to production inputs, they are assisted. For example, one of our farmers, who is actually a female, was part and parcel of the top 3 nominees for the Young Farmer of the Year, Sophie from Ekurhuleni. So we're working closely, and she did get that recognition from Gauteng. Chair, with regards to the issue of the trees and the budget constraints, yes, true, Mr. Mkwana, Chief Director of Environment. There are also partnerships with organizations like the Nelson Mandela Foundation, your Green Development Foundation, and others, to make sure that we're able to achieve these targets. However, we've also noted your input in the sense that let us also encourage the farmers that we're working with to actually grow the trees on their farms, as we're also assisting them to. As I say again, the issue of procurement really is not complementary, especially to our agricultural activities. And I must say that one, Chair, is a good suggestion, because it is also linked very much to our land care program that talks to the fact that we must make sure that as we help in rehabilitating the lands on the farms of our farmers, the environment is also taken care of. So we will definitely consider that one, Chair. And let me also quickly talk to the issue of the 15 women supported. Yes, we will provide the list as you requested in the areas where they are actually located. And also the issue of access to land. with the National Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. We will also, Chair, actually we've already started to do as you proposed, linking up with the National Department, because they've asked us, especially for livestock farmers who are actually within our teach areas, to provide them with a list of those farmers and where they are, so that they can then, through their approval process as well, allocate pieces of land which are actually suitable for livestock production in those areas. Let me talk to Ntate Bruce's issue around the vandalism of the fence and the panels taken away from their farm, etc. Chair, this is not a new matter. And Chair, I think we all recognize that farming is a business. And farming being a business, what it means is that farmers who invest their resources on farms take care of those resources on their farms. That's why they've got to be on the farms, to make sure that. And some of the farmers, okay, fine, being in the sector, Chair, we know this. And some of the farmers actually, especially the livestock farmers, you will find them patrolling their farms with their bakkies and making sure that, especially this time of the year when it comes to livestock, nothing that is untoward, especially with the crime that is happening on the farms. They actually monitor that on a day and night basis. I'm saying this thing, Chair, because Dr. Bruce from Pierre and Sons, they must also assist us here, because so that they give us the true story of what has happened, because they put up a container on the farm and they are not staying on the farm. And this is a problem, because now who is going to take care of the facility, I mean the resource, which is in this case fencing that has been put up there by government, expensive fencing, etc. And of course, yes, we did commit that having done and invested money by making sure that we fence up their property, their business, and they must take care of it, we will come again to the service provider to repair. However, again, the limitations there were, or the delays actually, it was because of the service provider through the DBSA. And again, Chair, we are saying, yes, we are committed to assist farmers, and that will be taken care of through the service provider from the DBSA. But however, we appeal to Bruce and P and Sons that take care of the investment that government is also supporting you with. With regards to their borehole and chicken structures, of course, some of these, again, they are also linked to the service providers, and we must also, especially with the chicken structure, a PIR, project initiation report, which must be finalized and approved, having been initiated by our infrastructure unit, and this must be approved at Treasury before we can do the implementation. So that, I think, in as far as the chicken structure is awaiting, and the borehole, those are actually awaiting that process. And I think if all the application processes they've followed are signed off, then this will be part and parcel of the next financial year business plan. Okay, and then the issue of the infrastructure projects, which have been put on hold due to the service providers' non-delivery. The list of those projects, we will provide those, Chair, as well, through to the committee, and then also the names of the companies. I must say, with regards to the infrastructure issue through the DBSA, yes, we've been really having a number of meetings through our chief engineer, Mr. Mkanglati, and to address these matters. So there's weekly and monthly meetings to monitor the progress there. But I must be honest that And that is one of the reasons why some of the projects have been delayed in as far as, for example, some of them, which is to do with fencing and the boreholes and some of the structures. And that's a matter that we've also elevated it to the accounting officer to make sure that the issue of the delivery via the Development Bank of Southern Africa is expedited such that come the end of the financial year, at least the resources that are allocated for that are actually utilized, and the service providers that are actually appointed by our implementing agent, which is DBSA in this case, actually perform as they are supposed to. Chair, let me pause there. I think I might have attended to some or all of the questions that were posed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Madolo. There's another question from the young, passionate farmer, Ms. Simphiwe Mnisi. I think she consistently communicates through emails to the department, and I happen to be CC'd on some of the emails. The issue of the borehole, which is a long-standing matter from last year, December, when we visited her farm. There was that issue of the borehole, and it seems like it's still not resolved to date. And I think she also says that the extension officer assigned to that area doesn't know what is happening with regard to progress with regard to the borehole. And she was told that he will seek clarity from head office. Maybe if you could just touch on the progress made or the challenges experienced in terms of completing the borehole for Ms. Simphiwe Mnisi. If you could just respond to that. The submission that is made by herself as well. I'm not just talking on her behalf.
No, thank you, Chair. I also saw, I think, on the chat something coming up. Chair, thanks for the question, and honorable members. I think the issue of Mnisi JG, the farm, and Ms. Mnisi there is noted, Chair. And I think let me rather, because as I'm saying, this is also linked to the service providers that we have appointed via the DBSA. Let me commit, Chair, to say I will follow this up myself to make sure that we've got an informed answer to her questions, so that even if it means we visit the farm together with the chief engineer who's overseeing the implementation of the projects, before end of this month, maybe let's say next week, because this week is also already fully booked, so that we can go and see and assess, given the fact that, as we were indicating, some of these projects like her project or the borehole, they've been long outstanding. And so we commit, Chair, that come the end of next week, together with the chief engineer and the responsible official, we will go and also make sure that the service provider is on board to make sure that things are actually finalized. And if there are snags that we need to sign off or attend to, we'll do so, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I hope that you will do that, so that we lay this matter to rest. It's been long overdue, and I don't think it's nice for the young lady to go through for such an extended period of time. Thank you very much for all the questions and responses by the department and the Office of the AG. And thank you very much. The Office of the AG, I think they have requested to be excused, but I will, however, thank them in their absentia for the responding and for presenting to us the audit findings. Let's then proceed, I thought I saw a
Chair,
hand.
before
No.
you proceed, Chair,
Okay, member.
before
Yes.
you proceed, yeah, I
You
might
can
be out of order, but I think, Chair, it will be better for us to get a due date in terms of the response by the department on this issue of the borehole so that we do a follow-up in terms of the progress. We might say that the department will do it because we didn't bind them in terms of when to submit to the committee, so that the lady should be able to be relieved. We need to do an oversight. By when? Chair, let's have a due date from the side of the department. They are visiting. When do we expect a report, a progress report as a committee?
Madolo, thank you, Member Giovanna. You said next week, maybe just commit, just tighten it up so that the committee can follow up properly in terms of Mrs. Bohol.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We will provide the report. We will visit next week, and definitely by Friday next week, we will also provide the report of what we would have established, and therefore the action items that needs to be undertaken to make sure that the matter is attended to and finalized, as we are indicating that service providers appointed by the DBSA. However, we do have challenges with this service provider. So yes, by Friday the 24th, Chair, we will provide the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will be expecting that report on our table. Thank you very much. Lebo, you will facilitate that. Sure, and then as soon as you receive it, you can share it with the members. Let's then proceed to the next item. And I will request the committee coordinator, Lebo, to take us through item 6 to 10 or to 9. Who can take us through? Mampi, take us through. Yes.
Sorry, Chairperson, I was having connection issues. Chair, under resolution tracking, we have none. We indicated that the outstanding resolutions are only due on the 31st of November, apologies, Chair. And we have nothing under provincial bills, nothing under petitions, Chair. It's the standing one that we have to follow up on, and we haven't received any correspondence. And I'll leave item 10 for you, Chair.
If I may ask, the petition that we received, has it been referred to the department already?
Yes, Chairperson. It has also been referred to the petitions committee. They've dealt with it. And the recommendation from the petitions committee is that we must go and do an oversight at Mamelodi to also check what the conditions is. So we as indicated last week, we have to go to do an oversight and see what the issue is on the ground. Thank you, Chair.
So you haven't identified a date as yet as to when that can be done?
Chair, the dates that we have, well, we have a very congested program, and if we utilize other days, then members will not be able to attend. So there is the 30th of November that is been allocated for committee business. However, it might not be us who are sitting on those dates, so we're avoiding clashes. And as soon as members, we find out if members are not experiencing any clashes, then we can utilize the 30th of November.
Thank you. I think that can be sorted out administratively. Thank you. And number 9, you said there are no correspondences, no? Any correspondence level on number 9?
There's no correspondence that we received here.
Okay, thanks. Honorable members, item number 10 is your item. If there are any other matters that you want to raise, which may not necessarily have been part of the presentations, you are free to do so now. Thing that you want to bring to the attention of the department or fellow committee members, feel free to raise it now. Don't see any hands. And the absence of any hands, I will then proceed to adjourn the meeting. And I want to thank each and every one of you, including our valuable stakeholders who have joined on the various platforms and who were able to send in their queries or the questions or the comments. I wish to thank them for doing so. I think these are valuable inputs that we have. And it gives us reason to exist as a portfolio committee. It gives life to this portfolio committee per se. So, honorable members, as we depart here, let me just announce that our next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 21st of November, 2023. It will be via the virtual platform at 10 o'clock, where the committee will be adopting its oversight reports, which would be tabled at the next sitting. So next meeting, 21 November, as I've said. And thank you once again for being part of this meeting and for all your valuable inputs. The department, thank you. Support staff, thank you very much. Under challenging circumstances, you made this happen. You didn't give up when you were supposed to, because you had already planned for a bigger meeting with a more, observance and more stakeholders. Unfortunately, this was not to be. However, the meeting was successful, and thank you very much. And the communications team, thank you also for actually making sure that this meeting is streamed, and all the media releases that you have also released. Much appreciated. I think I wish to really thank you. And at this stage, I wish to then end the meeting till the next date of the 21st of November. So thank you very much, and hope you have a good afternoon, honorable members and colleagues.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair. Goodbye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Thanks, Chair. Bye.
Chair, can you please stay behind?
Thank you, Chair, and have a blessed.
Thank you all.
Chair, can you please remain just 1
Yes.
minute? And
Yeah.
Senator, can we call him back to join us?
September. Yeah, just call him back.
Okay.